I think we're live on YouTube. Welcome to Spiritual Sundays.
Hi, everybody.
Think we're hi.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm just doing a bit of technical jiggery pokey. Jiggery pokey? Pokey jiggery? I don't know. Hello.
Hi. So, what were we wanting to talk about today?
I had a thought about it. I was thinking about it. I was reflecting on it. We went because it's Sunday and Kiara's home. We went to Hampstead Heath and we had a walk on the heath this morning. And I was kind of watching everybody walking past with the dogs and joggers and everything. And it just came to me. I was like, I think one of the things that's been quite a journey for me, and I think is a journey that every human being who ever comes to planet Earth is in the process of making, is shifting from being identified with the idea that my life begins and ends with my physical form, my body, to beginning to identify more and more with the spirit or the energy that's in animating the body. I think that's part of everybody's spiritual
Yeah,
journey, and probably, and I've been thinking a lot about that because of I've been reading Lord of the Rings, I've been reading the Bhagavad Gita. But before we go any further,
that's a nice combo.
is that the
That's a nice
is that the ocean behind you, or is that the lake? Where are you?
behind me. Yeah, I'm in Qualicum Beach in my friend Felipe's place.
Oh, where's that? Is that in Canada?
Yeah, yeah, it's on
Welcome
Vancouver
back.
Island. Yeah,
Welcome back to the island.
yeah. Thank you. It's nice to be here, and as you can see, there's big waves. It's dramatic weather here.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah, can enjoy the view.
Yeah. So I
That's about
thought we
half an hour from where I'm at. Yeah. Jeremy's close to me.
I about half an hour away. Is it? I,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I just jumped in with the topic, but maybe settling and
That's good. It's
welcoming
okay.
is probably a good thing as well.
Oh,
Are
it's
Okay.
all
you all
good.
right?
Yeah.
Is your shoulder all right there, Mason? Have you got a bit of stiff shoulder thing going on?
Just the muscle a little bit, not like sore
Mm.
stiff. I just feel maybe it's a little stiff, a little tight. I'm just kind of feeling it out, just trying to be aware, just trying to, you know,
Yeah.
see what's going on with that.
Yeah. I wonder what that is.
Yeah, so as far as people being attached to their bodies, I'm very attached to mine. And I know that there's times when I've had an accident and I've sort of disassociated with my body. And so it's interesting how we can um much we maybe love our bodies, and then our bodies are actually more, once we get to know our anatomy more, it's amazing that we're actually alive. Really, all the different functions neurologically and endocrine glands, for example, how they all work in an order. And what people realize later on is that it's spirit that is making the body operate that way. For example, when we have a big emotional upset, that affects our body a lot, right? And all that is just an emotion. But an emotion, it creates a storm in our nervous system, and that storm will manifest in a different way. For example, we might get sick or throw up, or we might develop pain.
Yeah.
And so when you were walking today, you saw you saw bodies, or you saw people in spiritual light?
No, I mean, nothing particularly earth shattering. Just the thought came to me because I was thinking about our spiritual Sunday today and what would be a really useful thing to understand about life on earth. And really, is this that we are here as immortal spirits in a physical form for a period of time, which is temporary. It's temporary because it's in time. Tempor means time.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, there was like a bit in my life, I think, when I was a kid, when I pretty much intuitively understood the spiritual foundations of the world. Not like in a way where I could write about it, but it was like a lived experience. You know, when you're a kid and you're curious about the world and you're kind of in it and you feel, I remember being a child, I didn't particularly feel like there was a separation between me and the world. Like it felt very much I was in it and I was part of it and it was in me. And then there was a period of time after my ego formed more strongly, sort of teenage 20s, 30s, 40s, right up to the kind of end of my 40s, where I still, where I then identified with my physical form, feeling like I began and finished at my body, despite spiritual experiences. Still, that predominant paradigm was running inside of me. And then now it's kind of shifted, it's switched somehow. I don't know exactly how or when it happened, but it did switch so that now I predominantly identify as a spirit, and I recognize that that's of primary importance to me, and that I have a physical form, which is temporary because it's changed a lot since I got this body. It's very, very different from the one that I started out with. It's different from the one that I had 20 years ago, So it's the body keeps on changing, and yet there's something constant that
Yeah.
doesn't change, which is this sense of being. And I think it's for me, it's just central to the spiritual journey is that shift in consciousness from like I'm this separate physical form to I'm a connected spiritual being. And those are just words. So it's kind of more of an experience of going back to that childlike consciousness that I think we all experience that when I would imagine most people experience that in childhood at some point. I would imagine.
Yeah, that most people experience that they're connected with things.
I think there's a. I mean, I can only talk from my own experience, but I think there's a time when we're kids before we've really developed a strong sense of identity about who we are,
Yeah.
where we're more open, we're more creative, we're kind of more alive to the nuances of being on the planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so I wonder,
Feel I,
sorry, you go, Mason?
I feel like I have one memory of when I was a child of being connected to spirit, connected to source. Like I remember something about light and looking at windows, looking out a window and just being really connected to some uh spiritual feeling, even from a really young age. Um, I thought about it a few times and I've kind of meditated on it, but I couldn't even tell you exactly like what it was about. Just felt like connecting to spirit, but I didn't even know the words like connecting to spirit at that time. I think I was like 5 or 6. I was like so young. But then when you were explaining that, Mike, I was even thinking just about being a kid and how narrow my focus was, even just from a brain development perspective. Like I've just so much of my life was focused on what's in front of me and making sense of what's in front of me, and then I feel like I expanded a bit. Like I grew up in a small town, rural area, and then I got to go and live in a big city, like in Toronto, and I like entering a teenage years that expanded me, and it's just been this like expansion like since birth. And in the first few years, it was the most focused on like what's in front of me and what's in the sandbox. How am I going to handle this slip and slide? And then it's like school projects, think about tomorrow, then college, like think about like your job, and then so yeah, and spirituality, and then I guess your physical, your brain develops and your vision expands, and then maybe your consciousness expands. I think you made me think of this just constant expansion. They say the universe is constantly expanding, everything's growing constantly, like fractaling out. So I'm just trying to think about it makes me think about um if we are eternal beings, and I totally believe we are. I can explain why soon. But it makes me wonder, if we're eternal, like why are we crammed into this position where we don't have a memory? Like why does it feel like the starting place? And then I always wonder, did our eternal being like actually start there? Or were we like alive before, and then, you know, now we're having this human experience, and part of that is to like not remember before, or I anyway.
I mean, I can.
I could keep asking questions like, were we supposed to not remember before? And are we supposed to figure it out after this? Or are we supposed to not worry about after this and like focus on this?
Well, I can answer intuitively.
Okay,
So
cool.
this is my intuition about it. Is I'm thinking that by the time you come into a place where the spiritual side of life is really, really important to you, like really important to you, so like, you can't let it go. It's not a passing fad. It becomes central to your life. I would
Yeah.
say to get to that stage, you've probably had to have lifetimes on Earth, where you've learned to when you've learned that everything here is temporary and nothing lasts, and it doesn't matter how many successes you have in terms of fulfilling desires, there's always more desires and it never ends, and you can't find any peace that way.
Yeah.
You'd have lifetimes where you've realized that no matter how much success you have or how brilliant your relationships are, there was always this thing. There was this something else that you were trying to remember, or you were trying to find, and it's this kind of connection and close relationship with spirit, God, if you want to call it God, or the universe, or this creator. So so this is intuitive. So if you've had all those lifetimes, there's a very strong chance that during those lifetimes you will have done something. You'll have put your foot wrong a few times. You may have been very powerful and been terribly mean to people, or you might have used people. You might have seen people as obstacles in your way. You might have got swept up with really regressive movements that have caused lots of harm. And you learn through these experiences. And there's so much in just one lifetime on Earth. It's like remembering all of that and knowing all of that. If you've without having a really deep spiritual perspective in the first place, you could be overwhelmed with all the people you've known, the people you've loved, the people you've lost, the animals you've loved, the things that you've done. The bad that you've done in the world as well, which is where compassion comes in, because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I've got to a lifetime where I really want to be kind, and I want to connect, and I want to live according to spiritual foundations and principles. But I've had many, many lives when I didn't want to do that. And so I think that's why we don't have the full weight of like consciously remembering and knowing everything that we did, because I think it'd be overwhelming. I mean, one lifetime's pretty full on, I think, on Earth. That's how that's what came to me. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, you mean that's part of why we forget?
I think so. Yeah, I think it makes sense to me that way. Intuitively, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
Mason,
feel
you
like our
mentioned,
soul, what's that, Jeremy?
oh, sorry, I interrupted you,
I
sorry.
feel like our soul is like out there infinite, and it's like looking through a magnifying glass or looking through a microscope, and you can only see like what's on the petri dish. Like you can't see anything else because we're like our soul is like focused on this. Like the human experience is like us looking at a microscope, and you can only see what's there. I feel like that's maybe a metaphor that tries to make it make sense.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Mason, I was wondering about your mentioning that of your infinite self, non-temporal. What were you meaning by that?
So yeah, like I hear snippets and comments and talks by whether it's like a scientist on a podcast talking about, measuring the like measuring time space or measuring the Planck scale or measuring these quantum physics, and they could see that there's this infinite nature to like studying the universe. And then you hear some meditators or gurus talking about into samadhi, and they can kind of see or experience this timeless presence within. Some of them express hearing about it with the third eye. And I just find collecting all that information really compelling, and all that gives me this resonance, this vibration, this a bit of truth. I find like connecting all the dots that way, trying to meditate myself, trying to open my third eye myself, excuse me, trying to catch glimpses of this. I had a powerful experience that even contributes to all of this, which was I went down to Costa Rica, and I went on a plant medicine journey. The the plant medicine was ayahuasca, and completely. I mean, this journey kind of called to me, and I wouldn't recommend this for anybody. I'm not recommending that anyone else should go do this or should try to replicate this or have the same experience I did. Um, I'm just gonna try to tell a long story short, but yeah, I would completely advocate for this whole topic to do a ton of research. If you would ever look into any psychedelic plant medicine ceremony, traveling, or spiritual seeking in those domains, do tons of research. But my story about that was that I had went on a plant medicine journey, had taken this plant medicine, and in that experience, you can have visuals. That's part of the experience. And one night, what I saw in this journey I was on, and I felt like I was glimpsing the spirit world or the veil between dimensions or realities was lifted, and I could see something. What I could see was looked like in my mind's eye, in the same way we would imagine something, but in a really strong way that kind of took over my inner vision. One second. Mm. I just began to see this hallway appear in front of me, and it was a very long hallway with actually it had art on the walls. It looked like a really royal place with a red carpet kind of extending into infinity. And my consciousness was moving along that hallway like quite quickly, faster than we could walk, faster than I could really notice the paintings on the wall. Just was like zooming down this hallway, and I just somehow got this intuitional hit that it was an infinite And what I read into the experience that felt so powerful at the time was that your soul is eternal, and where you're going after this human experience is this place that is eternal. And it wasn't said to me in words or language. That's somehow the message that I interpreted. Um, and that also that experience had with it that same resonance of, oh, this feels safe, this feels good, this feels like alive, this feels like I'm with someone, like somehow the feeling of community was in that experience. And I just, those are some of the highlights I hear about when we listen to gurus talk about deep meditation, when we listen to some discovery in quantum physics about particles and light, and it just felt like a powerful experience.
It sounds like one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so from now on, when I think of something, or when I'm wondering, like, are we eternal, or I'm going through a grief wave after losing somebody, I wonder, will I see my father again? Will I see his soul again? And I ask those questions and kind of compare it with that experience. Well, let's just believe for a moment that that experience was telling me the truth, and that if I'm an eternal being, would would maybe other humans be eternal being? I mean, we're all people here. I'm surely we're all the same. Um, so maybe we all have the same chance at this eternal soul stuff.
Oh yeah, well of course. Oh, that yeah, because when you say that, that brings up the subject of religions that claim exclusivity.
Yeah.
We have them.
Um,
I know, like you can, you've got to do things the way that we do it, otherwise, you know, you're done
yeah.
for, that kind of thing. So yeah, of course, every human being, every animal, every bird, every fish, every mosquito, every living thing, and we could talk about, what's living and what's not living. I mean, it seems to me everything's alive, whether it walks and talks or what. It's all alive. That's kind of animism, isn't it? It's all alive.
Mhm.
So yeah, of course,
Yeah.
your father's the for the longest time, it used to do my box in. We say that in England. It used to do my head in trying to think about this, because I identified the body as the source of life. So there wasn't anything else. So and this isn't. You mentioned grief, and of course, you've lost your father, um, and still relatively recently. So we're not. I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh, because I'm identifying as an eternal spirit, I'm not attached to, and I don't to the physical form, and to other people's physical form, and to animals' physical form. So when somebody dies, or when somebody who was in my life, who's important to me, leaves, and they're not physically present anymore, of course I suffer because I'm human. Of
Yeah.
course I
Mhm.
do." And there's the added dimension of the realization that just as we're eternal beings here, then every being that I encounter on this planet is an eternal being. And there are some who are aware of that, and there are some who are not. And typically, the culture that I was born into, that just wasn't even on the menu. You wouldn't even have a conversation like that.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the whole one of the main reasons I would say I ask those questions and I seek truth and I try to figure out why, is because things like this grief wave with my father. The sad part of that is so sad, but the to break through that and to find some peace and some stability in terrible grief. Uh, yeah, I just find these questions like, oh, will I see him again? Like when I and like you said, religion has these hallmarks and suggestions, but you also said like, what about our own experience? And I can't help but question things from my personal experience, and I've seen these things, and I've stumbled upon what I feel like is the evidence to believe there's at least something going on after this, or there's some truth to this spirit stuff. And and that seeking and those questions really help me from just staying stuck and stagnant in, well, this person's gone, the physical's gone, and it's I'm never gonna have that again. So I'm just gonna it's gonna be painful from here on out. And that sucks, and a lot of it that's real, but a
Mm.
part of that's just not acceptable to me. Oh, something's gone and you'll never see it again, and it's just pain for the rest of it. That just does not have that resonance in it. That feels like, if you know someone's lying to you, you catch someone lying to you, you've got that feeling. Like
Mm.
just
Mhm.
it doesn't feel true. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, seeking is it feels like good movement, away from stress.
Mm.
Hope, I guess you'd call it, right? Isn't that the word that sums that up in a way? Like hope?
Oh,
Good to have hope. It's good to have hope, and
Yeah.
we ought to have hope because there are so many hopeful things going on. If we only we heard about them,
Mm.
if only we heard about them.
Um, Speaking of this topic, and I was thinking, do I want to mention this? And for a moment, I thought I don't have the energy. I don't really want to mention it right now.
Hmm.
But since we're going along this, and it does actually kind of feel right to mention in this moment. When my father did pass away in 2022, I was with him in that moment, and those moments, and I saw him. Saw him in the moments he was alive, and I saw him for the moments uh, after when he wasn't alive. And I was really having a heart-to-heart conversation about that experience with a friend and describing it to them. And when they said, "Oh wow, the power of the soul leaving the body," it really hit me because I was describing to her, "Oh, my father was kind of there and he had color in him and he was like kind of moving and his eyes were moving, and then after he was like so still and his body just felt different. It just felt different. It felt uh, you know, it had a different feeling to that, and it was just she was right. Clearly, the soul leaving had this dramatic impact on the physical.
Yeah.
So that really powerful experience, and it was as powerful as you could imagine it to be, also really lends to the idea that there's a soul made of energy or something, and it's come into this body, and then when our time is up, whenever that energy moves on.
Mm.
So I've,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
experienced that in a couple powerful ways now.
Yeah.
Thanks for
and
listening. That's always an interesting
so
topic to
in the room,
mention.
what did you notice when he was passing?
Uh, you know, I was holding his hand and I had one of my arms like around him, kind of the back of his head. And I suppose I felt just some like really micro movements and micro tensions and subtle, shallow chest moving with the breath, subtle eye movements. His skin was like quite pink, and he had this like really faint grip in my hands.
Mm.
And as I noticed him consciously breathing to then his body kind of taking over the breathing, his breaths got quite shallow and his grip loosened up, his color faded. I could feel his body kind of relax more and sink into my hands, almost as if there was this weight taking place.
Yeah.
And his eyes just kind of looked off as if they had stopped focusing. And everything just went so still, so still, really into this stillness like I had never experienced. And when I put his hand down beside him to let go of it, there was just no movement at all. There was no movement. It just had felt different. It felt like an inanimate object. It was strange. It was super
Yeah.
strange.
Did you notice anything else in the room?
No, no. At the time, I what happened was, um, what had happened was I had from the moment I had noticed my father was struggling close to me, to approaching him to try to help him, I was in this fight or flight, really panicky mode. There was a moment in time when I kind of knew what was happening, and I thought perhaps I can't save him, and I decided to just this feeling just took over me of being completely present and completely just focused in the moment. And I somehow knew what to do, which was to just hold him and allow this process to happen. After I put his hand down, like I said, I just put my forehead to his and I tried to allow his soul to leave his body or bridge with mine or have some transition out and up somehow. And I was just
Yeah.
locked onto him. And that's all I really remember, uh, in that like precise experience, that precise little experience. And and so I don't notice much else about the room or what happened in the room. The only other thing I want to say is I had spent some time, just a few moments with him, just his body. Then the paramedics had came, and one of the paramedics, two of them came. One of them had told me, uh, I kind of left the room and like put my hand on his shoulder and he put his hand on my shoulder. And he said to me, he says, "Oh, I bet you're relieved, aren't you?" And I said, like, actually, yeah, I am. Strangely, I have this weird feeling of relief in me, even though my father was my hero, my closest confidant, my best friend. I loved the man more than anything. But I said, yeah, I feel this relief. And he said, you're not relieved that he's gone. You're relieved that he's not suffering anymore. And that also like hit me quite powerfully in that moment. And I feel like he was really said the right thing at the right time. I also feel like maybe there was some angel or angelic force working through him to tell me that, because he felt like an angel taking care of me in that moment. Um, it felt like really spiritual that whole night, of course, so yeah, those are the most important things I could say about that experience of losing my father in my arms, with me and talking about spirit moving. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks for
wasn't quite
sharing
going to say
that.
that today, but
For sharing that.
Thanks for sharing that, Mason.
that's
Yeah.
okay. Thanks for listening.
Wow, quite an experience.
Mhm.
So it wasn't in hospital; it was at home.
Correct. Which, uh, in fact, I mean, in a way thankful for. Also, like that man said, I had fears, during my life that my father would become unwell and perhaps he would pass away or die alone, at his place, like alone. And I had worried about that for years.
Mm.
And he actually, for the last few months of his life, got to live with me in my home. And even my mother was there. So even though they had separated, we were like living as a family again. So it was a really potent family time of us together. And he was happy during that time, very happy. And he was as close to me as he could be. So for someone passing away, for losing your hero, there was a tremendous amount of beauty in that experience that I am thankful for and will be thankful for. So yes, I appreciate your sentiments, but that was the picture. Yes.
Yeah. And so how does that relate to infinite?
So that's a cool question because it does really powerfully relate to the infinite because I to this day I've done a lot of writing, I've done a lot of crying about the grief, I've done a lot of processing, and I'm still doing those things. But how it relates to infinite is um there are moments when I think, oh, I wish my dad was here to see that. And then there are moments when I try to connect to source, connect to spirit, have a 5 second meditation where I like beam my consciousness out there and say, well, dad, if you can see from this place of timeless presence, maybe you're looking in from out there and you could see this. Maybe you're watching. Maybe you're in a higher place and you can see and have more knowledge than we do in the human experience and you're watching. So I'm like, I try to nudge spirit and say, check it out, dad, and keep my relationship with him somewhat alive or going. And I have to even just for a moment acknowledge, well, the spiritual realm, the infinite, comfortable heaven you could exist in would have to be there if he was there looking down. And yeah, sometimes that feels really natural and I do it every day. And sometimes, depending on my mood, it kind of comes down to a choice, a conscious choice. Do I want to feel like sad that he's not here? And sometimes I have to, and that's not a choice. Or do I want to say, well, check it out, old man. I'm doing it with or without you, you know? I'll see you in 60 years when my time is done here. And
Yeah.
that's like makes me feel probably how you're feeling in the moment. And and yeah, yeah. I try to wonder what is it like when we meet our loved ones in heaven? What is it like when we see them there? Do we spend like eternity together? Or do we band together and have another round table and all go off into some other manifested physical experience somewhere off in infinity? And we just agree to meet back here in 1,000 years or after 1,000 more lifetimes? Or how does it what will it be like, you know? I don't know. It's fun to wonder.
Yeah, it is fun to wonder, isn't it? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember being in when I lived in Australia for a year. I met with an indigenous person from Australia, and we were talking about reincarnation. I don't know why the subject came up, and he said, "Yeah, we come back to Australia." I said, "Well, how do you know?" He said, "Well, because when we're floating up above the planet, we're really we're pulled to go back." He said, "We're always pulled to go back," and then so they know to go back to Australia. Their souls know.
Mm, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. The Aboriginal of Australia, they have a really interesting way of looking at the world. The Indigenous people of Australia, and they're very much they know that we leave our bodies and then we come back, reincarnate, and then we forget.
Yeah.
It's
Like
really
I wonder why, yeah, we're like they're pulled in. Like what happens when your soul or collective souls regenerate and keep working the same place on the planet, and then other souls are kind of scattered, have different lifetimes, or it's just
yeah, depending on
yeah,
when
I don't know.
actually or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
I don't know
Um,
either. No, do you know what? Nobody's got all the answers, have they? But it's good to have questions.
Yeah.
In fact, oh, actually, yeah. Um, Because a lot of the time with our conversations, I feel like there's a thing gets activated in me, which is my kind of original programming that goes, "You can't believe this stuff. This stuff can't be true for you. You can't be an eternal being in a temporary physical vehicle. Stop getting such fancy ideas into your head." And it's like, hold on a second. We were talking about Australian Aborigines and their cultures. What, I don't know, is it like 30,000 years old? This
Yeah,
continuous culture. It's like they talk about it like this. You'd have a
yeah,
much more interesting conversation with somebody who's coming from an indigenous point of view than you would with somebody who's coming from a reductionist, materialist viewpoint, which says no, it's like it's alive when it's alive because it's matter, and only matter is real.
yeah,
And when it's dead, we can tell you what's happened, the heart stopped beating or that, but we can't tell you what the difference is between a living being and a dead being.
yeah,
We can tell you what's happened, but we can't tell you why it happened.
yeah,
And then you start looking, and all of the spiritual practice, all the spiritual um, paths, and the indigenous cultures, they're very much, they honor their ancestors. They're in touch with that. They know that they're going to be ancestors to future generations too. There's a sense of continuity between the past and the present.
yeah. It's things are cyclical rather than linear.
I think more people are coming into that way of thinking about it. I think I just want to acknowledge how tricky that can be sometimes when your nervous system has been programmed to think of yourself as I am this physical being and that is it. So,
Yeah,
I wonder I wonder if those, like you're talking about, those Aboriginals who know that, like, the spirit goes on. I wonder if you tried to tell them, like, where it's a nihilist, actually nothing happens, like you are just this physical being and that's it. Would they have that same hard time trying to understand it, like the reprogramming, right? Their subconscious. That's Yeah.
they would think that we're insane to think that they think that we're insane to think that nothing else happens after we die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because the energy has to go somewhere, and it does.
It Yeah. And, like, are you ever trying to just quiet that part of your self, Mike, forever? Or do you want, like, is it okay? Like, what happens when that part of you comes up? Ego. It's uncomfortable. Or you trying to, like, get rid of it, or you try to accept that it's always going to be there, asking that question?
oh, it's very welcome. It's very welcome to stay for as long as it wants. I was on that
Oh,
path of ego dissolution and blah blah blah, but actually, that is part of the ego. It's
yeah.
such a wonderful. I mean, it's an incredibly subtle thing. So you get a spiritualized ego where you think that you're trying to get somewhere. So where am I trying to get to? I'm trying to get to the point where my ego dissolves and I'm free, rather than recognizing that you're free now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Desiring not to desire. It's like
It's
very
it's
tricky.
en- it's endless as long as you put that event sometime in the future. It's 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 endless.
Mhm.
yeah. You've done this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the best thing to do is just be okay with things as best you can, because sometimes it's quite hard to be on this planet and the emotion, going through the you're talking about the loss. You're talking very intimately about the loss of your father. That's difficult stuff. I really appreciate you sharing that as well.
Yeah, me too.
So I think it's just probably for me the again, a lot of this stuff is just, it's not really book learning anymore. It's really intuition. It's like the intuition is, it's just better to dance with all the different parts of yourself and welcome them in and recognize what a messy experience and contradictory experience it is to be human, and that it doesn't logically make sense all the time, the way that we think and that we feel and what we believe and the things that happen to us. But if you're comfortable, if you can get more and more comfortable with paradox, and you get more comfortable with mystery, and you can be more comfortable in not knowing, you can kind of let your ego flare up and dance and sometimes subside, and sometimes you get these moments of expansion and opening and it's okay, and then the ego's back again, and sometimes you're awake enough to kind of go hello, all right, and then it's just this constant shift, ever shifting present moment thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
it's
is.
not this sudden feeling of just absolute peace and everything's perfect,
No.
which I was hoping it would be, but it's not. Um,
Yeah, I think practicing living in the moment, practicing being present, taking every minute as it comes. I mean, practicing meditation, practicing focusing on the moment and being in like this, like returning to this present moment all the time. It feels really helpful in so many different areas. If something's hard, if a conversation's hard, if I'm doing a task that's long and I'm trying to get through it, if I'm having a hard emotional time, if I'm having a good time, like if I'm trying to make the day last, just absorb every moment, every detail, just slow things right down. And yeah, sometimes slowing something down makes things last longer, and sometimes slowing things right down helps you forget about the rest of it that you have to do. It's like picking up one rock instead of like the whole bag of rocks at a time. Um, yeah, present moment valuable. I forget what I was how I started that concept, but it's very helpful practically.
Yeah, it is. And so I'm wondering, with a practice that you do, what's a practice that you do to bring
Just
yourself into the
present
present moment?
moment. Yeah, just present moment. Noticing like what's coming up at any time. We can do a meditation. We can do one right now, where you're just witnessing like what's coming up, and just witness what comes up then and there in that moment to see, is this something that needs to come up today? Is this today's trauma? Is this trauma from the week? Is this something stuck in there? Is it just tension? Is there
Would you like to guide
something?
us? Would you like to do
Yeah,
guided meditation for us?
sure. Yep. Let's
I can do one
close
as
out the
well
day
after.
with just, yeah. What's that?
I can do one as well.
Either way. Either
Yeah,
way.
why don't we start with you first?
All right. Okay. This this is just a practice at getting comfortable like with the present moment. Every time you practice entering the present moment, I think it sharpens your skill. I think you get better at it. So I think practicing in moments like this, where it's calm and tranquil,
Yeah,
strengthens the muscle. And when you need to dive into the present moment, when maybe things are hard, when you're angry, when you're anxious, when you're sad, when things feel overwhelming, when you go into the fight or flight stage, uh, maybe some of this practice lends to those moments. So just right away begin trying to feel as casual and relaxed as possible. You want to try to get to entering the present moment as comfortably as possible all the time. So I always just try to, with my mind, drop into the like right now, like just focus on the space at the very end of the sentence. And as soon as you notice how quiet it is, start to just notice what's happening in your body and what's happening outside of your body. When you notice the stillness of your decision to just drop into now, right now, just casually in a relaxed way, quickly pay attention to the sounds you hear outside yourself. Just take note of them all and then return back to center. And once you're done that, start to take note of what's happening inside your body. Try to notice any movements, any sensations. Try to notice any adjustments that need to be made that your body wants to make on its own. Try to notice any adjustments that you want to make. And do another loop of coming back to center right now. Do another casual loop of relaxing, feeling yourself drop into your space, into your seat, standing if you are. Just do another loop, another ring of coming back to right now. Once you feel like you're seated or stable or perhaps more poised, sitting comfortably than you were right when we began this meditation, try to notice what kind of stability you have in your consciousness since we've began this meditation. Try to notice if the speed of your thoughts has slowed down at all. Try to notice if you can slow down the speed of your thoughts with your breath. Try to take a breath in through the nose right now and feel your chest expand. And then let it out through your mouth. Try to notice your thoughts right away after one breath. Try to take one more breath in through the nose and hold it for just a moment. And then let it out through the mouth. And now return to present. Just trying to witness your thoughts and witness your body. Try to witness the silence. Try to listen to the quietness in between the sounds that you hear. Try to acknowledge any sounds you hear with your ears as they happen and let them fade as they are finished being the sound that you hear. Just notice the transient nature of all the sounds that you can hear, all the sensations that come and go in your body. Try to allow your thoughts to have that same nature, to come and go in your awareness, just like the sounds. Try to imagine your consciousness as the ocean is behind Jeremy in his picture, that there's waves coming and going, that your consciousness is the ocean and a thought is just a wave. Try to witness the stability and the consistency of everything happening around you externally. Try to witness the pattern of just simply sitting still. Try to witness the repetition of coming back to center and sitting where you are. Get comfortable in that repeating, coming to center, stillness. As you get more comfortable in that stillness and establish that pattern in the moment right now, this is when you look for something that needs to come up. When you spent the time and the breath to get to this place of stillness, this is when something inside you will emerge that perhaps needs to be looked at. Try to sense what's trying to emerge through that stillness. Try to sense what's really trying to get your attention right now. Try to just allow that one thing to have your full attention. Try to let that one thing show you what it wants to show you. Allow it to make sense in your mind if you just hold it. Try to watch the nature of something speak to you. Does it transform? Does it have a shape? Does it have a color? Is it an image? Try to understand that which is inside you, not with words, but with feeling or emotion. Try to give it a little attention and see what it gives back to you. Once you've grasped what there is to grasp in that moment, try to come back to center and use your breath again as we'll close. Try to take a deep breath in, oxygenate your body, get some more rhythm going, and come back awake to the space. Try to get back into that casual, relaxed nature that you have that you're going to carry on through the day, and try to blend back into how you felt before the practice. And just think, if practicing that helps you get into the present moment and the present moment helps you forward, maybe that's something you want to do.
Lovely,
Perhaps
thank you.
Jeremy's.
I know Jeremy's he's with us. Here he is.
Yeah.
Lovely, thank you so much, Mason. That was another wonderful deep meditation. Thanks.
Yeah, I was gone.
I was gone, but I was managing to had my
Yeah,
postures.
yeah.
Your posture keeps you awake if you get your posture
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of like a sapling in the wind.
Maybe that'd be a good meditation too, but that's cool. That's cool.
Right. Well, thank you. That was really enjoyable conversation. Every Sunday at 6 p.m. UK time that we're here. talking about spiritual things. We'd love for you to come and join us.
Yes.
So I'll say goodbye till next week from me. And
Goodbye,
yeah,
everybody. Rest well.
Yeah. Take care. Have a good week.
bye. Usual. I'll just stop the live.